Hello everyone, Daaim Shabazz here. This is the 22nd anniversary of the chess drum. It was 22 years ago at midnight that I hit the enter key and made the site live. And it was a rather crude 13 pages that I put up, but there was a lot of excitement because this was an idea whose time had come. Many had talked about doing something similar. And of course, this project came after years of me researching not only the possibility of doing some kind of communicative vehicle, but also researching the chess in the African diaspora. That was something that I was focused on. And while I was in graduate school, I wrote a marketing plan on this idea that was supposed to be a magazine. It was going to be a quarterly magazine, and I was going to actually mail it out around the world. That's a very ambitious idea, but as we moved into the early 2000s, it became less practical for me to do so. As you all may know, magazines and print journalism has taken quite a hit because of the online platform and now social media. People rely on these outlets to get the news of the day. But the chess drum has been a mainstay in the chess world for the past couple decades. And 2 years ago, on the 20th anniversary, I made up I guess you can say, kind of a timeline of events for the chess drum, events that I had covered, different places that I had been, and also very important events. And so if you go to the 20th year story, you will see all of these stories. This is the story that I did that year. And obviously it is very long. And if you want to go and look up this page, you can. But what this is 20 years of memorable moments, starting from 2001 all the way to 2021, which is the 20-year period. So if you'd like, you can go back and you can check that out. I've also done stories or anniversary stories dealing with the making of the chess drum. And that is a very interesting video I did because I pull out documents and letters that I was actually exchanging with various people, trying to find out how this idea could come to fruition. And I've actually had this particular essay up since the inception of the website. But I did a video a couple of years back talking about the chess drum and how it came about. One of the things that may not be known, and this is what I was talking about, the making of the chess drum. One of the things that is not known to the chess drum audience, or may not be known, is my kind of introduction to chess and how I became involved in chess. And it's interesting to note that sometimes when I meet people, they will tell me that they didn't realize I actually played chess. They thought I just covered chess and wrote about chess, and I had a passion for chess. But it is very difficult to operate a website with this type of content and not play chess. I don't know any other sites where you have somebody that doesn't play chess and then they have a site that's covering top level events, they're analyzing games. You have to have some background in chess. In saying that, I just want to share a few things with you about my background. I learned how to play chess at the very late age of 13. Well, at least that's when I learned about chess, learned how to move the pieces. And so, how did I learn how to play chess? Well, I got an encyclopedia after seeing two boys in my neighborhood playing the game at night. And so, I will share something very personal with you. So, as you can see here, this is a picture of a house. This is the house I grew up in. And this house is on the south side of Chicago. And I'll just kind of pan around and you can kind of get an idea of where I grew up. This is primarily when I grew up, there were two-parent families, and each family had about 2 to 3 children. Most of the families had 3 children. And so I spent my days playing all day here, going up and down the block. You would see my neighbors. There would always be someone on the porch. But little did I know that what was occurring around the corner from me would change my life in a very interesting way. So I'm actually going to go around the corner. And as we go down 76th Street, we're going to go to Peoria, which is the next street over. So this is Peoria. And I actually went to grammar school up the street. But on this stoop here, right over here, were 2 of my friends. They were actually more my brother's age, who's 4 years older. But they were playing chess right on this stoop. And there were a group of us, and we were hanging out, and we just kind of stopped and watched them staring at this board. There was a night light on, I remember that. And I can't remember if it was a street light, but I think it was a light that was by on the porch. And I was just very mesmerized at the fact they were staring at this board, looking down, and playing this cryptic game that would become a big part of my life. And so it was at this point that I returned home later that night with this image stuck in my head, of chess, and didn't really know what to think of it. But we had a chess checker set in the house, and so I got this board and I went to an encyclopedia and learn how to play the game. At least learn the moves. So then at age 14, I go off to high school, Chicago Vocational High School, and we had a history class, and we were changing teachers because we were in transition. We had 2 or 3 teachers that taught parts of that class because we didn't have a permanent teacher. So one day there were some students in the back of the class, and they had a chess set and they were playing, and so I go back there only knowing the moves, not really knowing much else, and so I sit down and promptly I'm scholars mated by Jacques Lamar Holt, who was a student who was already in the chess club. And so I got up, shell-shocked, not really knowing what happened, and obviously that's the only time that ever happened. Then I started really getting into the game and got better, so much so that one of the persons who was sitting there with us, who was a bit more advanced, I started playing him, and then I finally was able to beat him, and he says, "You should join the chess club." So in my sophomore year, I think it was my sophomore year, I joined the chess club, and then began my progression. And so that was age 15. And then next year, age 16, I played my first tournament. And after that, I progressed and studied and ended up being on first board, going up several boards. We won the city championship, which I have a very nice picture of me that some of you may have seen this picture. I have put it in some of my stories, but it is kind of one of those pictures that you look at and say, "Wow, Daaim, was wearing an afro." And so, if you look at this picture, you'll see me holding the city championship plaque. That's my teammate to the right, Reginald Williams, who played board 5. I believe he may have been undefeated in that tournament. And so this was a proud moment for me. And I then went on and I had other successes in chess. I also was fortunate enough. I'm bringing up another picture of me. And this is one where I had just won the Illinois Junior Invitational. So these were the strongest players in Illinois. And I won first on tie breaks. And so that was kind of a crowning achievement for me. This was a picture that was in the local newspaper that was about my winning that tournament. And I also have some other pictures. I have a picture of me playing in the Pan Am Intercollegiate. This was 1981 in New York. And at that time, this was my first time getting in an airplane. But this was me playing in the Pan Am Intercollegiate. And so that was a very interesting experience going to New York. We visited the Manhattan Chess Club. And we had a great time, going and meeting players from other universities, and it was a very memorable experience. And both Marvin Dandridge and Roger Hickman, we always talk about that trip with fond memories. There's also another picture of me playing at the Palmer House here. This is me playing Angelo Sandrin. This game was a draw. Angelo was a master. I actually had a better position in this game, and I most likely should have played on, but I guess I had a lot of respect for Sandrin, whose brother, Albert Sandrin, was a blind player and won the U.S. Open, I think in 1949. And you used to see both of them at tournaments together, with Angelo escorting his brother around. So these were kind of my beginnings in chess, and I was playing in a tournament, and I've told this story many times before, and I had written about it, that I was at a tournament out in Morgan Park, and there was a player there, Vince Berry, who asked me, we had a conversation about black players, and he was asking me questions that I could not yet answer. And so that question of his kind of ignited a spark in me to find out. And so I began to search for literature about players, black players in the U.S., and then players in other parts of the world. And I finally, after writing letters to a number of people, they gave me the address of Jerry Bebold, and I wrote him, and he excitedly wrote me back, and I told him about some ideas that I had. And he then began to make resources available. But after the 1989 U.S. Open, I met Maurice Ashley at that tournament, and we shared some ideas. But in the next year, I actually was interning in New York. And then I was able to share this idea with Jerry and Maurice in person. And I also shared this idea with other players at the World Open in Philadelphia in 1990. And so that was a very, very important time, very important event. And perhaps when I write my memoirs, I'll talk about this whole, this summer of 1990, of me being in New York and interacting with so many people, going to Washington Square Park. It was just really something that was destined to happen, because everything was happening kind of in a sequence. And so that kind of led this journey to kind of conceptualizing a network. Wrote the marketing plan after I got my master's in business. I filed that marketing plan away and did nothing with it for quite some time. I think I wrote it in, that would have been 1989 that I wrote that plan, or maybe 1990. And then it wasn't until I finished my doctorate that I decided to brush off that marketing plan to execute it. And that was 1998 that I graduated. Ended up in Florida. Maurice Ashley became a grandmaster a year later and was on the cover of Chess Life, and that kind of said to me, okay, this is someone I've talked in detail about my plans, and we have shared our dreams. Here he is on the cover of Chess Life. That was a sign to me that now is the time to execute this plan. And so February 12th, 2001, I had developed a very crude site by today's standards, using some tools that I had found, some Microsoft tools that I had found. I had generated some pages, and it was about 13 pages that I had put together. And I'm just going to show you, because I actually have these files. And in this story that I did, that I posted early this morning, you can actually look at the pages. So this was actually the way it looked. First quarter, notice, I'm still in magazine mode, thinking that it's going to be a quarterly publication. The reality was that I wasn't sure what it was going to become. But these were the feature articles. I had news briefs, Fire on Board, where I featured a game, Chess Crackers, which were puzzles, Talking Drum was an interview, 65th Square was op-ed piece. And these were all kind of informational, the Chess Village. And then I had kind of a viral button here. And then I had the news briefs, and then I had some ads at the bottom. And these are actually clickable, so you can click on them and see the types of things that I put into my first issue. So this was the first page of the website, and also I had who stopped by, until it became hard to keep track. These are people that actually posted. I had a form where if you visit it, you can fill out the form, and just like a sign-in book. And so these were the people that did the sign-in book. So Frank Johnson was the first to be recorded as a visitor to the chess drum. And then you had many others, and then later I had so many that I could no longer keep track of. So it was positive, because there were a lot of people that were giving motivation and encouraging me. And later on that year, I would attend the Wilbur Page Memorial Tournament in Harlem, New York. It was a tournament that was organized by Jerry Bebold, and it was hosted by Maurice Ashley and also Gerald Times played an integral part of putting together the event, providing the commentary, and actually being a host to us uh, his in his hometown. So that was a very historic event. So looking at the 22 years, I have included in my article that I posted this morning. This is the picture of me at the Wilbur page doing the coverage. I was the Chess Drum was the official website of the Wilbur page. And then I have some other pictures here. My first and only business card, me at the 2003 U.S. Championship where Maurice Ashley was competing. This was a cake that was presented to me by a chess mom who appreciated the work that I was doing. And I thought that was very, very touching to get that kind of gift. It was actually the best cake I ever had in my life. It was a vegan cake because I told her I was vegan, and then she made this cake, and I had never had a cake quite like it, not only in looks, but also in taste. I really enjoyed that, and I shared it with a lot of people, and they can co-sign on the fact that it was very, very delicious. Some other pictures, the King's Invitational, the Hip Hop Chess Federation, that's Adisa Banjoko. I went out to the Bay Area to support his event and cover his event. Many famous hip hop stars were there. The Wu-Tang Clan and many other artists. RZA won the tournament. If you're familiar with hip hop, you'll know who he is. I also have pictures of him in the book I wrote on Emory Tate, Triple X Glam, and very, very strong. I guess you can say he's a very enthusiastic supporter of chess and player of chess. Some of these other pictures are just different times in the timeline. Maurice Ashley's Millionaire Chess. Here I am interviewing Levon Aronian after the 2017 Rapid and Blitz Championship that was a part of the Grand Chess Tour. Here I am with Harold Winston at the U.S. Delegates meeting. I believe that had to have been probably 2019. Harold Winston passed away. I believe that's been a couple of years now that he passed away. This is an article about the chess drum in New in Chess, an article that I wrote. Dirk van den Guzendam had asked me about the article we would meet at Olympiads, and he would say, you got to write an article for New in Chess. And so there you have it. That was also a very, that was a big honor for me to have been able to write that article for New in Chess. That was the issue number 8 in 2020. So if you go back 2020 and look at issue 8, then you'll see that article. It has Ali Reza Firouzja on the front cover. And this past summer, I was given an honor for the chess drum as a special service award. Very proud of that. I thought, that was sometimes you wonder if all of the work you do in chess is really worth it. I have written thousands of articles. I have amassed perhaps 20,000 pages, 20 to 30,000 pages, depending on how you count the indexing. But it's been a labor of love, for sure, and there's been nothing that I have received monetarily for doing the chess drum, but I always tell people this is my contribution. A lot of people say you should monetize the site, you should try to make money off of it, everybody's doing it, but this is my contribution. And what I plan to do with the chess drum as I close here, everyone is moving towards podcasting and videos and YouTube channels, and you can bet that I'm going to have also some of that video content as part of my drum beat segment. Back in 2012, I did 5 segments, video segments, and I plan to rejuvenate that idea of the drum beat. And also, I have on my itinerary of my things to do to finish the book that I have started. And this is going to be the first of 5, in a book series, kind of chronicling the history of chess in the African diaspora. And I will end that series with my own reflections of chess as far as being a journalist and some of the things that I have seen, some of the experiences I have had, and also probably be as candid as I can about some of the inner workings of chess, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Mostly good, but that will be the culmination of these 20 plus years that I put in. I also can't close. I would be remiss if I didn't thank those of you who have supported the Chess Drum, who every now and then would send me a message saying that you appreciate my work, or come up to me at a tournament and say very flattering things. It means a lot to hear those words, because without that, it would be hard to continue on for so long. And having put so much time and energy in, you would like to feel that there is appreciation there, because again, it is a labor of love. You're not going to get rich. Although now, in terms of streaming, there's a lot of opportunities to take your platform and move it into other venues. And so the Chess Drum will be exploring some of those options, and perhaps I will do something more with the Twitch channel that I have, and also the YouTube channel that I have, and make it something more in line to what chess players are consuming today. Hopefully you have enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, and you've learned some things about the Chess Drum and myself. And as I always say to everyone out there, keep the beat going. Thank you.